Hey, this is Bryce and thanks for tuning into my YouTube channel, Jack of Trades. In this video, I am going to build this Kyosho Ultima. I know I'm a little late to the game on this car. There's lots of build videos out there. But before I get into that, let's talk about a little bit about the history of this car, if you don't already know. So the original Ultima was released in 1986, designed by Akira Kagawa, and I've kind of honed in on this car because of my Baja build, which I discovered was also designed by Akira Kagawa, and that's how that became a tribute to this car. When it was designed or developed, it carried a lot of technology over from the Optima of the time and kind of made its name as a racing buggy. It was later released in 2019 as part of the Kyosho Vintage series of cars, which we all know. Growing up as a child, I only built one Kyosho, and that was the Chevy Lumina, which was on the Slingshot chassis. And it was kind of a four-wheel drive on-road chassis. I remember ordering it from Tower Hobbies because it had gone on clearance. It was one of the only things I could afford that was four-wheel drive at the time. I think it was like 99 bucks at the time. Anyway, later on as an adult, I had built a Kyosho Hang-On Rider, the HOR motorcycle kits. And those are actually pretty fun kits, but they're incredibly hard to drive. RC motorcycles is a whole another game. But I digress. And that is my only experience with Kyosho. And this is actually my third car that I've ever built from Kyosho. So it was actually a really enjoyable build. The quality of the materials is on spot. The kit was flawless. I like they give you spare parts in case you lose something, like an E-clip, which I did. The only thing I would kind of criticize is the manuals. I don't think are up to par with Tamiya. You know, when you're going through each step, they don't tell you how many pieces of hardware you need for that step. You kind of have to make sure you look at the picture and capture it all. And I prefer to have like a list of number of screws, number of nuts, number of washers that I'm going to use for that step, and I can pull them aside, put them in a pile, and start using them through that step so that I know if I've forgotten something, it's sitting there in front of me. And a lot of manufacturers actually do that. They tell you, okay, you need 5 of these screws, 2 washers, etc., etc. But Kyosho doesn't do that. And there's actually not a whole lot of text in the manual either. So a lot of the steps you're kind of guessing the order of sequence to do things. And that kind of leads me into the other thing with the manuals is a lot of the steps are, you know, they're broken down like you would expect, very simple steps. But then you get to some of the steps where you got, you know, 4 or 5 different assemblies coming together. There's a lot going on. It's something that, it's a step that should have been broken up into more than one step. A good example is when you're installing the gearbox. Actually, it's the rear suspension they call. But basically you're putting on the rear bulkhead, the arms, the gearbox, the hinge pin brace. But there's a lot going on with that. And they did that all in one step, and you know, you could have optimized that and kind of presented a sequence of assembly that would have been conducive to a successful assembly. So that being said, it's still a great kit. Kyosho does a really good job. The quality, you know, the material qualities are on point. The fit and finish of everything is really nice. Not really a whole lot to complain about. These kits, they come fully ball raced, with the exception of the steering bell cranks and the track link for the bell cranks. Those use bushings. I happen to have bearings that in my collection, so I was able to replace the bushings with bearings. Otherwise, yeah, I mean, it was a really fun build. And as you can see, it's already dirty, scuffed up. I took it out for a run this weekend after I finished building it. It was a, you know, it was a pretty involved build, but it was enjoyable. I thought it would be a quicker build. I thought I'd, you know, crank out in a day, but it actually took about 2.5 days to do. And that's fine. You know, I enjoy the build process, so rushing through the build process is not what I'm trying to do. if it takes extra time, that's fine. At least I was able to enjoy the process and enjoy kind of just the design elements of the vehicle. There's a lot of really creative and interesting design elements to this car that are, to me, they're impressive. Having not really been exposed to this brand a whole lot. So yeah, I really like these cars. I'm looking forward to more Kyosho builds in the future. I'll leave it at that. So I'll go ahead and flip the camera around. This will be kind of a high-speed run-through. There's hours and hours of footage, but I'm going to scrub it and try to consolidate it as fast as possible and maybe point out some of the things that drew my attention. But I hope you enjoy the video. Thank you for tuning in, and take care. Okay, so now we can proceed with the next step. And that step is step 25, where we assemble this top deck, or what do they call it, the radio plate. So this part's made out of plastic, and I think we can step it up a little bit, add a little bling. And so, the magic of YouTube. So anywho, I went ahead and made a carbon fiber version, kind of to make it pop, make the kit pop, add a little bit of bling to it. I'm curious, I would expect the carbon fiber probably weighs as much as the plastic one, but we can check real quick. Alright, so the plastic is 35.4 grams. Ooh, carbon fiber's heavier at 41.3. And actually, the carbon fiber is a little bit thicker. I think this plastic, but not including the ribs, is about 2.2 millimeters thick. And this carbon fiber is 2.5 millimeters thick. So yeah, it'll be a little bit heavier. But this is an ultralight build. I just wanted to do something that looked kind of cool. And yeah, so I think it looks nice. So I designed this part. I mean, I basically just copied this, but I had to measure everything with calipers and kind of reverse engineer it. And then, as always with my carbon fiber parts, I print them out first, just to make sure the holes line up. And this took a couple of iterations to get right. And then I cut it out of the expensive material. So yeah, I'm happy with the results. And I think it'll look great once we get it assembled. Done. Now we need to mask off the orange. So we're going to do some decals.
so we got the body painted, we started applying the decals, and just working our way through. Body's really cool.